Being able to teach this yoga and how much it's healed me, it's I have a purpose. Explosions, the loss of life, the limbs, being people without limbs. Training doesn't prepare you for that at all either. Constant high alert, maybe this could be the day. It was exciting coming back because we're out of that war zone. Finally feel safe for a second, but then the normal things of life, you start to feel very unsafe. The moment when you realize you can't live a normal way or handle those emotions, like I started to self-medicate. It was when I got arrested for the second time that I really asked for help, because I knew that I just couldn't get rid of the drugs and I couldn't handle the symptoms anymore. I was in an isolation unit for mental health in the jail. The first thing I said, I was like, I need help. AA and spirituality and things like that. I heard about things like yoga and this vision of a better version of myself and a better life. She told me about Pure Action and the Saturday class that's free. And I couldn't believe I could do it. I didn't think that I could do hard things anymore. The act of being able to do this 90-minute practice in the heat, because it changed my life. There's a separation from all those symptoms now, where I can respond rather than react.
Yeah.
I can keep a job. This is the affirmation that the yoga works.
When I was thinking about how could I make this session the most interesting for you, then my good friend Bretton come to mind, because not only he's a fellow yoga instructor, a wonderful yoga instructor, he also has shared with me and with others that he was deployed in Afghanistan in the early 2000s.
2007, 2008.
Thank you. So yes. 2007, 2008, and he does have a diagnosis of PTSD from the VA. He's very forthcoming about his mental health struggle when he came back to the States that led him to abuse some drugs such as methamphetamine. So I'm going to ask him some questions and see what we can learn from his experience. Bretton is just a wonderful human being. He was in your shoes just a year ago, and he's the poster child of the best that we can get from that teacher training. He's a wonderful man, and his work ethic is second to none. When I take his class at 6 a.m. in the morning, he's there at 5:30 a.m. studying his dialogue, repeating the dialogue, so he never stopped learning. And I'm extremely privileged to be your colleague and your friend. So thank you, Bretton, for being with us today. In just a few words, can you just introduce yourself, and then we'll go with some questions.
Yes, I'm Bretton Varn. I am a yoga teacher here at Pure Yoga, Texas. I cannot believe it's been a whole year since the training. Yeah. It happened just like that. It was life-changing, and I tell you what, I'm a yoga teacher, and I'm very honored to be so. It's healing, it's helping, it's helped me. It's gotten me to a point where, I can be my authentic self and people accept me. And, more than the yoga, it's the community that keeps me coming back. And being able to teach this yoga and how much it's healed me, it's I have a purpose. And it's just an honor to be here and to see all you going through it again. Because this is the best job in the world. It's hands down. We take care of people and they take care of us. We learn from them just as much as, we teach. And I'm just honored to be here. Thank you for that intro.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Thank you for spending some time with us today. Yeah. So you have a diagnosis of PTSD, which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. You need a first exposure to trauma. So in some of the slides, actually put the diagnostic criteria for PTSD. So you need trauma exposure. It can be either direct experience to trauma, it can be witnessing trauma, learning that trauma has happened to loved ones. So you don't even need to actually have direct exposure to have a traumatic experience. Such as extreme exposure to aversive details of trauma, for example, the first responder after the 9/11. Bretton, can you go a little bit into your experience in Afghanistan and the type of traumatic event that you have been exposed to?
Yeah, so I was actually in Iraq.
I'm sorry, Iraq,
okay.
I say it again.
Yeah, I was in Iraq for a year, and I was in Al Anbar province. And some of you have been in the Middle East, so you know what it's like over there in the heat exposure. That's the first kind of shock that I got when I got there, is the heat. It's 120 degree plus during the summer. It's very, very hot. And then you're in a war zone to boot. So it's just added pressure all the time. And you don't know when it's going to happen because you go in, you're kind of excited. They told us we were liberating people, and you go out there with purpose, and then the stuff starts happening. The explosions, the loss of life, the limbs, being people without limbs, happening right in front of your face, and you're not prepared for that. And training doesn't prepare you for that at all either. And so, like the things that I experienced, while it wasn't the whole time. There's still a lot of camaraderie, a lot of great times over there, but the things that you do experience, you kind of hold on to. That we had constant mortars coming into our camps all the time, just over and over, so not a whole lot of places to hide, so you're on constant high alert, always thinking like maybe this could be the day.
Yeah.
Even when, I was put into an office for a little bit in an intelligence part of the military, there's still like mortars going off all around. And people you saw yesterday, you don't see them again the next day, and you hear that they died in an explosion, or were shot, or were sent home because of great trauma. So it's there's no way to really prepare for that, and it's a shock at first, but then you just kind of hold on to it, and I get a whole lot of feelings from it too. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of regret, a lot of irritability and agitation over little things. And just, and the inability to control it, so you end up kind of isolating yourself. At least that's what happened for me is, there's help out there, especially at the time in 2007, 2008. But the stigma was, you don't go get help.
Right.
Now it's different. Now there's a lot of, soldiers seeking help, and it's great, and I wish I found yoga right after I got out of it, because the yoga has helped me so much. There's a separation from all those symptoms now, where I can respond rather than react.
Yeah.
I can keep a job nowadays, which is it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your experience in Iraq in 2007. Can you tell us a little bit what happened once you came back to the States? So when was that?
I came back to the States at the end of 2008. So I went in 2007, came back in 2008, and it was exciting coming back because we're out of that war zone. It's just like,
safety.
A safety. You finally feel safe for a second. But then the normal things of life, you start to feel very unsafe. There's nobody dropping mortars or explosions going around, but you feel the same. The same fear, the same agitation, the same kind of like just reactions to things, the overreactions to things. I've been fired from several jobs because I didn't know what was really happening, because I didn't get help, because even though there was help, there was a stigma, like, one, I'm a male, and two, I was a soldier, so it's like, we don't get help.
Yeah.
We don't go, because you got to tough it out, right? And what I found in yoga is I don't have to tough it out. I get to work with it rather than against it, and it was always just kind of a struggle working against it, and the loss of, right when I came back, I should say that there was just an instant loss of interest in things I used to love to do.
And we talked about that yesterday. One of the symptoms of depression, the term is anhedonia, so inability to experience pleasure in things that you used to enjoy doing, leading to isolation, shame, guilt, feeling of worthlessness and hopelessness. So tell us, when you came back in 2008, how long did it take you to reach out for help? How long did it take you to realize that you needed help?
Years.
Oh, wow.
It took years. Yes, okay. And what happens is with a lot of my friends too, who I came back with, is instead of asking for help, you start to self-medicate.
Right.
And that the moment when you realize you can't live a normal way, like a lot of people can, or handle those emotions, like I started to self-medicate. Started with marijuana, then led to harder things, because eventually, like, things weren't strong enough to help me. And
what did cannabis did for you at the beginning? Was it helping with the anxiety? Was it helping with the mood? Was it helping with sleep?
It brought its own little bit of anxiety, but it helped me sleep. It helped me eat. It helped me not be so afraid all the time, and helped me not. This is going to sound a little weird. It helped me not care a little bit, because you really, really care about your life and other people, but you just feel like you can't meet expectations. You can't meet that normal human behavior that you see from other people around you. And so you kind of, I needed it. I felt like I needed it to really just be normal even and not be on high alert all the time.
Yeah.
Not
to put you at baseline.
Yeah.
To get you back
not
to
have to
baseline.
find the most tactical position and not have these crazy emotions that just took me out of the game. That's why the isolation happened, is because these emotions were so strong and I didn't know how to deal with them. So you just avoid everything and people.
And at that time, what was your level of functioning? You mentioned that you were not able to keep a job, but were you still able to have friends, to be in contact with your family?
Yes, I was able to still have contact with my family. There was a lot of angry episodes between the people that I loved, and a lot of, friends that I lost because of it. But there were still some people around, and the drugs led another group of people to come into my life, and their lives were kind of like that. So it seemed normal to be this out of control, to lose job after job, to not care about paying bills, things like that. And I was surrounding myself with those kind of people, and so there was kind of acceptance there, until there wasn't, of course, and it was just, you end up cycling through friends, cycling through jobs, not keeping one steady relationship. And the only steady relationship I kept really was with my mother, because she has her own trauma, and they kind of like apologize for me a lot, and I'd be so willing to try to, just be a good man and to do the things that I needed to do, that those times that I would not meet that expectation, they loved me so much that they would like forgive me. And it was just, having my mom and my family still in my life, there was a time when I thought I'd lose them, but they're still in my life now, so
Good.
The drugs actually led me to a point where they were going to cut off that relationship, and I was never going to speak to them again. And that was my really like kind of rock bottom.
Oh, okay.
And I was able to seek help then. That was probably about 2015, 2016.
Okay, and at that time, were you already in Austin or still in California?
I had moved to Texas in 2012 to Bastrop.
Bastrop, okay.
Yeah, I started getting in trouble in LA, like really bad. I'd gotten a DUI, I got lost all my friends, I was about to lose my house and be homeless again, because I was homeless a couple times in my life. And I said I'd never moved to Texas or Bastrop or Austin in a million years. It was the best decision I ever made, but there was its own kind of challenges moving and having that change.
Yeah.
Did
you know anybody here?
My family had moved to Bastrop in 2008, and my brother moved in 2010. And I was still like, no, I'm not going to do that. And y'all are crazy. But I was also crazy. And when I moved here in 2012, I moved to Bastrop, and I still hadn't dealt with that stuff.
Right.
So I ended up losing my home, losing every single job that I had gotten. I got fired from most of them. And it was just really just hard to live, and I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. Did in the time period between 2008 and the time you came to Texas, did the VA reach out to you to do any mental health screening to see if you had any symptoms of PTSD?
They didn't reach out.
No.
No. It was the AA meetings I went to, and the veterans I met there would tell me to go to the VA.
Okay.
My brother's a veteran as well. Which is funny, he was my recruiter, and he got me into the Army.
Oh, wow.
That's just a little side thing. But it was veterans that told me to get help because it was there, but the VA didn't reach out.
Okay. So you came to Texas in Bastrop 2012, and how did you reach out for help? How long did it take you?
It took me a little bit, because even though they told me to go, my brother and other veterans told me to go like seek help, I didn't want to.
What was your reservations?
Well, I didn't want to quit using drugs. And I thought, because I hadn't blown up in a while, I thought I was okay, right? So I was like, no, I am fine. I don't need help. But it's when I started getting arrested, and I lost another job. And it was little things that my family would tell me. Like my brother, he's so cool. He loves me so much. But he would tell me certain things like, my father died of alcoholism, and he was like, "You're acting like Dad," you know, and that was hard to hear, but that was one thing that stuck with me, you know, and so that was kind of like the first rock bottom point, and I still went further, but it was when I got arrested for the second time that I really asked for help.
Good.
You know, because I knew that I just couldn't get rid of the drugs and I couldn't handle the symptoms anymore, and I was in an isolation unit for like mental health in the jail, and I had a lawyer. She came, and that was the first thing I said. I was like, "I need help, please help me," and I got it.
Good.
So there's help out there.
What type of help did you get in jail?
In jail, there was a little AA program that I started with, and I started reading, and of course I was clean after being there for months, so I was already had some freedom a little bit from not using anymore, and you know, once I found AA and spirituality and things like that, I heard about things like yoga, even though before I was like, I'm not going to do yoga, you know, I'm going to run miles and miles and miles and miles, you know, like do marathons and things like that. David Goggins. He wasn't popular then. Nobody knew about him then.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but I always wanted to be the runner, but I wasn't doing the running, you know? Yeah. And so I just had this vision of me being an athlete.
Yeah.
Right? And this vision of a better version of myself and a better life. Once I got a little bit of freedom. You know, and of course it took some stumbles from there. But that was really the first step. Once I asked for help, and that's the highest vibration you can get is when you're willing, willingness.
Yeah.
And then once I was willing, it all started happening. All the stuff that like used to baffle me, like why isn't this happening for me? It started happening once I became willing and asked for it.
Good.
Yeah.
So you did AA, and then you kind of reached out to other people.
Yeah.
How did you find yoga, and when?
I found yoga. I had just gotten out of rehab, so they once I got out of jail, it was really cool. My lawyer, she got me into this rehab center that supported veterans, and
where is it?
It's called McCabe Center, and it's on Martin Luther King and Chicon.
Okay.
Over, I think that's like East Side almost, you know, here in Austin. And I was there for 6 months. It was a very intensive inpatient treatment, and it was awesome. I loved it. I mean, the first month was like torture, you know, because of course I had to use again before I went to rehab. But it's so cool. And then once I got out of rehab, they put me into a little tax credit property where I only had to pay like $25 for a rent. And
nice.
Stephanie Jean, my first yoga teacher, Jeff knows her, she was offering a 30-minute yoga practice in this little room, in this little apartment that I had, or in the apartment building that I had. Oh. And it was 30 minutes, and it was only 30 minutes of like just little easy vinyasa stuff, and I was sweating, I was like hurting, but I just loved it. And then after like the third or fourth session, she told me about Pure Action and the Saturday class that's free. In the 90-minute Bikram yoga series, and I had never heard of Bikram yoga. I had barely done any kind of yoga, and I went to my first class.
When was your first class, and who was the instructor?
My first class was in 2017. You know, just a few months after I got out of rehab, and it was Teddy was my first teacher. And in Eagle pose, the third pose in the warm up, I ran out of the room. And I was like, I'm not going back in. I grabbed my stuff and I was ready to leave, and Teddy ran out of the room with his mic on. Good. And he was like, hey, sit down with me. And he gave me a Juice Land juice, when we used to have Juice Land. And I started drinking it, and I felt really good, but I didn't think I was going to go back in. And after I drank half of it, he was like, well, now you got to go back in there. And I stayed the whole time, and I tell you what, like, I can't really describe the feeling. I just felt more of myself when I hadn't felt like myself in so long, you know? And I couldn't believe I could do it, you know? I didn't think that I could do hard things anymore. And just the act of being able to do this 90-minute practice in the heat, you know, if she had told me it was that hot, I wouldn't have gone, you know? But I'm so glad that I did, because it changed my life.
And after your first class, did you come back the next week?
Not the next week, no.
How many weeks did you wait?
It took a month.
A month? Okay.
A month. And then it could sort of happen like that over and over again, where I'd come 1 month, and then I wouldn't come. And then I'd come a week, and then I'd make it like 2 times in a week, you know, and it was off and on. Until during the pandemic when we found Roger and Albina Rippey's training, and I did that. That's when my whole yoga started to flourish, and I started to do it consistently. But I had been running, in between Bikram classes and doing fitness stuff with friends, and so I started getting fit, and a little bit of freedom started to happen.
And what types of changes did you see in your life while you were in that phase of doing Bikram yoga once a week or once a month?
Well, I tell you,
what changed for you?
Yeah, the huge thing is self-respect. I started to care about like my appearance more, and I started to care about just the things in my life more, and jobs, and not walking out of jobs just because somebody made me mad, and I got irritated and lost my cool.
So you had a better ability to control your emotions?
Yeah, better ability to control my emotions, self-respect. I liked myself better. I looked and felt better. And I noticed that in other people reacting to me, that they would, I'd get a lot better feedback, from people. When before it just seemed like it was all kind of bad feedback and negative reinforcement and things like that.
Yeah. So it took you out of that cycle.
Yeah, and I didn't feel like such a loser anymore, which was the big thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And how did you make the switch in your mind between being a student and being a teacher? Because it's a big.
Oh man, it is a big leap. Well,
yeah.
I saw these teachers that were teaching, and how cool they were, and how just like. Together they seemed, and just the confidence in how they speak, and the smiling, and just that's who I am authentically. So I was like, these are my people.
Yeah.
But it was the ability to teach a class like this with a bunch of students and to be able to speak up there. I was like, this is amazing. I want to do this, and it was an easy decision. It was always kind of just like, especially in yoga, it's always been easy to say yes. I want to do that. Even when it's scary, even when I'm experiencing symptoms, it's like I'm a yes now because I practice yoga.
And do you feel like even these days, do you still have those symptoms of PTSD?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How do you handle them?
Well, pranayama is huge.
Oh, okay.
Breathing is really big. I forgive myself when I react. I find ways to not. I have the ability to have the separation now, and to be able to respond rather than react, which is something I didn't think was possible.
Wow.
There's a separation from the symptoms where or a delayed response where I can feel myself getting to that level, and I can breathe. I can calm down. I can know my purpose. I'm in a space where we need to be inviting, and I'm part of a community too. So it wouldn't be in my best interest to react in ways I used to.
Yeah.
And I find that I'm more authentic when I don't react like that, because that's not really me. And the emotions are strong, but I have the ability to know that okay, I've been here before. I know this, and I can breathe through it.
Wow.
I can breathe through anything now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how did you make the switch, the transition between vinyasa teaching and then the pure yoga institute training?
I love teaching here, and I always have, especially up here doing the vinyasa, hot power vinyasa. But there's something more that especially with the Bikram teachers, I just saw there's something in their eye, just like we know something, right? And I wanted it. I wanted it so bad.
You got it.
Yeah.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and going through the teacher training, it was really, really tough. Really, really tough. But I was able to do it, and I didn't think I could do hard things like that ever again. And we did it, and that knowledge lets me know that I can handle anything.
Yeah. I saw a switch in Bretton when we were practicing classes. Like sometimes I will see he will have physical in Savasana, he will be very obviously uncomfortable, and he was able to demonstrate tremendous emotional regulation because I know that the heat is very hard on his body. He sweats tremendously, profusely.
Yes, 2
but
towels.
I have seen throughout the course of the 1 month intensive how he was able to not just run for the door, which he did for the first few classes, and then we had a talk.
Yes, we did. We had a talk, and it was a much needed talk, and that's what I love in yoga is like people tell me the truth now, and that's where the real love lies. Where it's like, you know, you're able to tell me the truth, which makes me better. You know, and I love that.
And you're willing to.
I'm willing,
to listen to feedbacks, which
Yes.
is, I think, is one of your best assets. Is you're always growing, and what I love about Bretton and also all the patients that I see with substance use disorder that come out of it, they have this humility and they have this sense of being connected to something greater than themselves, and that's what I feel within half a second. As soon as I step into the studio and Bretton at the front desk, he makes everybody feels that they are important, that they belong, and he embodies all of our pure core values. And I think he's just an amazing asset to the studio, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm an includer. My strengths,
Yes.
my Clifton strengths. The number one is an includer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's one of my favorite parts is seeing the people come in. Thank you so much.
And everybody loves you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
This is the affirmation that like the yoga works.
Yes.
You know, it does.
Yeah, Bretton could have been one of my patients. Instead, he's one of my colleagues and my friend. So thanks to the yoga and thanks to Pure Yoga Action. Thank you.
Thank you.